hang on. Right. We'll try that again, won't we? Hang on, let me just move me slightly across here. Hey guys, how are we all doing? Yeah, I think I've managed to get myself live. Let me just double check that it definitely has. But I think I am pretty much live. Bear with me a moment. Hang on. So I just want to check to make sure I am definitely got this live stream actually going, but it looks promising. Hold on. Why is this not doing this? Let's see. Hang on. Hang on. We have comments. Okay. Right. Chelsea 1-0. Look who it is. Hey, Annie's here. Right. Can you guys see and hear me okay? I don't know for some reason why this is not doing anything. Let me quickly see here. Right. Hang on. Is this not... Right. Now it looks like putting off from Ramsdale. It's not what the rest of you think. Right. Hold on a moment. Let me see if I can quickly try and get this back on again. So this should be live. Can you guys see me? You're online listening from... Right, hang on. Let me just quickly check this. I just want to see. I want to just double check to make sure this is actually working on my sort of thing here. Hang on. Bear with me. But how are you guys all doing? If you can hear me, how are you guys all doing this evening? Oh, hang on. Right, there we go. Yep, you can. I can see. So, right, how are we all doing? Let's try and get through some of these comments. Sorry that obviously I'm a little bit late. Basically, I went with on me. A friend of mine called Ant, who's a Leicester fan, and Leicester fan channel. He might end up being in the comments, but he's going live himself with another Leicester fan at 9 o'clock. So, here we go. We've got like 39. We got like 39 likes. So, hang on. I need to see if I can figure out a way to get around this sort of thing. Right. Is this working? Oh, hang on. That'll be why. There we go. So there should be sound there. All good to go. I can hear things. Right, let's get through some of these comments. Let's see. So we'll show. So we've got, hello, Robin Hood. Hope you're stealing from the rich, giving to the poor as always. Stephen Martin. Do you think the same as me that we are going to be okay this season? I think a lot of that depends on... I think a lot of that severely depends on... Oh, there's someone parking outside. I've got the window open, guys, just to let you know, because obviously it's a little bit... I'm still quite roasting at the minute, and I'm not particularly a big fan of the hot weather, so I need a bit some fresh air coming in, and this is when flies don't come in anywhere near as much. It's so annoying. Do you think the same as me? We're going to be okay this season? If we get if we get at least one top draw centre back and a good really proper prem established, well, I say prem established, more established level striker at elite level, if we can, just more than anything to not put the pressure on Mayenda and Isidore, then yeah, and with a goalkeeper, who knows? We'll wait and see. I hope we are. If we sign the players that we want and they're of good standard and adapt to the Prem, my gut says we might be. So we'll see. Long way to go yet, though. Paul Graham. Well, hello there. I can never not think of Obi-Wan Kenobi there. Right, let's see. George Callis. Hello, my friend. How are you doing? SJ. You always want me to do 2-3 hour shows. I absolutely love that. Fair play to you. Especially when we often disagree as well. Hello, Ian. I hope you're doing well, right, my friend? SJ. Speakman said several more to go. I'm assuming that means 2 centre-backs, keeper, a right-back, and striker. Yeah, I think we could do with all of that. I really do think we could do with all of that. I think, if you're asking me personally, I think we might be looking at a couple of free agents in that regard, just depending on what happens with obviously the more money we spend, the closer we get to a PSR limit potentially, even though apparently we're meant to be in a pretty good position in terms of spending. Hey Edward, yes, absolutely. We haven't got a here we go from Fabrizio Romano. What's going on? Gazolfi and Speakman out, please. Let's see. He needs to go another long walk. Well, if it helps you, because obviously Sunderland have this knack of announcing things when I'm out, I'm at work the next 3 days after today. So there you go. There's your shout. So knowing my luck, we'll get something done in the next few days. Las Palmas Mackham, who, by the way, is always on the SCFC Fan TV stream ahead of anyone else, and that is amazing dedication. Chelsea 1-0. Absolutely lovely. Okay, fair enough. Oh, yeah, it's a Club World Cup final tonight, isn't it? Paul Graham, hopefully some non-Africans come December. We'll hardly have a team. Aye, probably. Like to do it the hard way, Sunderland, don't we? Annie Harris. Amazed that he's actually coming on here. Absolutely. Jump yourself on, Annie, if you want to, although a lot of it will probably be about Sunderland stuff. But, if you really want to put up with that, then fair play. But no, I hope you're doing all right, my friend. Hope you're doing all right. Hope he's enjoying the... It's a former Barnsley manager, Brugger's. I think that's his surname, isn't it? Rain at Ashton Gate. So that'll be fun. Stephen Martin, yes, okay. That's good to see. Quite a few people have said they can hear me. Whether that's a good thing for you or not, I don't know. Robin says, so now it looks like we're putting an offer from Ramsdale. I'm not particularly excited about that. Curious what the rest of you think. Yeah, Ramsdale. Let's talk about him. Obviously, we're going to talk about the 3 new signings in a bit, but the Ramsdale thing, obviously, look, if you'd been linked with Ramsdale maybe prior to Bulka and Petrovic, then it probably doesn't look as much of it looks more of an attractive signing in that sense. I personally feel like there's a... oh, hang on, I didn't realize I could do that. Let's see. Oh, there we go, I can just go full, can't I? Anyway, no, I think if you're asking me personally as to Ramsdale, I can't ignore the fact that obviously when he's the last 2 clubs he's played for that haven't been called Arsenal, he's got relegated, of course, and that obviously doesn't look particularly good. From what some Southampton fans have been saying, however, they've said that apparently he was easily one of their best players last season. Now, I know that's not saying much, given that Southampton finished on, 12 points? But I think what's encouraging there is that if he wasn't that bad, actually, then who knows? I'd rather we got a better keeper, if I'm honest. But if we're talking about Ramsdale in the sense of Southampton apparently willing to look for a loan, and this is Graham Bailey who said this, by the way, so take it with a pinch of salt. But let's say Southampton were open to a loan deal, then maybe I'd be open to it if we can't get anyone better. But yeah, I'd rather we got someone a bit better, but we'll wait and see. People are saying spot on. Mr. Bong, if I can get the comment up, says, evening, Michael. Hello there, my friend. How are you doing? Let's see if I can quickly go through some more. Whoa, geez, okay, there is quite a few people. Yes, I can see. Right, okay, there's a lot of people saying they can see and hear me. That's fine. George, sorry, SG, I'll get your comment in a second. As Charles title race is on, I love it. Well, we won the relegation title 2 seasons on the bounce, so who knows? Maybe we need to win that. That's a joke, Sunderland. Don't try and say hold my beer, please. SJ, Vardy rumours then. This might be an unpopular opinion. I don't know. But if we can't go out and spend... obviously, we're going to go out and try and spend money on a striker, I would imagine. But if we can't get a really, really, really good one, I wouldn't complain with... In fact, even then, I wouldn't complain with Vardy on a free. I wouldn't complain with him for a 1-year deal with the option of another year, if that's him being the experienced one and we sign another one who's the marquee signing, so to speak. I don't want to put pressure on Mayendo and Isidore, if I'm honest. I don't think it'd be very fair to put massive pressure on them when we're going to be on the back foot a lot, hell of a lot, in fact, in the Premier League. And I would like to see if we could help these guys out. I do believe we are in the race for a striker. It's not based on anything being told. It's just a gut feeling. I do think, because I know some people think I get info from the club. I promise you I do not. If only I was that lucky. But I think we will go for a striker. I think we will go to try and sign one. But I don't think we'll buy one that's like 30 million quid or anything like that. Unless Leon lower their price for Mikatadze from Leon. I don't know. Steal back from the state that was taken from the people. Fair play. That was a really good shout. That was a really good, funny comment. Ian, why is Labrise wanting Preveda and Barnes Semedo out there on my front 3, in my opinion? Absolutely. Come on. Ian Preveda wins the Ballon d'Or. Great to see Huggins back at fullback. Yeah, he looked decent. Obviously, bear in mind it is against Shields. We do have to take that into consideration. But yeah, no. It's a shame for Huggins, really, because obviously he gets charged with the injury-prone thing. And I get why. And I'm someone who does say it myself. But I suppose he's just had 2 very, very nasty injuries, hasn't he? He's had 2 very... he's just had 2 really horrendous injuries, more so with really not with bad luck than anything else. It's not like with Sirkin, when Sirkin keeps on somehow getting the little niggly sort of injuries, where Huggins tends to get 2 really, really bad ones. I remember he was actually, in the first half of the 23-24 season, he was playing superbly well. He was playing superbly well, really, for us. And then obviously got that nasty injury against Coventry and just hasn't been seen since for 18 months. Personally, for me, if Sirkin continues to get injuries and the contract thing rumbles on, I wouldn't be against selling Sirkin and maybe having Huggins as second choice left back behind Reinildo. Right, let's see. I did send an email, an invitation to Thane, but last time we tried to get him on the Thane, his sound wasn't having it. So if we can get Thane on, I'll try to get Thane on, guys, if we can. But if not, he'll be in the chat, I am sure. John Haswell says, "Oh, Thane's currently watching the football. How dare he? That's terrible." Yeah, he's currently watching the Club World Cup, I would imagine. Anyway, I agree. We need a keeper to compete with Pato. A centre back. We're after Aguiard, or whatever it is. Centre back from West Ham. I have heard of him yet, with proven Premier League experience and a striker from France or Italy. Yeah, I think I wouldn't complain with all of those things. I'd be interested to see if we do get this West Ham centre back though, because West Ham could very well, if they're not careful, be in a position where they could be down the bottom end of the Prem potentially. So, like, they'd be mental to let a player go to us, but we'll see. Ian, do you think we'll see more of the new signings in Portugal? Also, Rigg should be back for that. Yeah, I can't imagine why not. I think the likes of Talbi and Adingra, Diarra, I think Reinildo and all that will probably be joining us because I think they're still in Madrid. So I think they'll be flying over to Portugal from Madrid as opposed to coming here to then going back out again. It makes sense for them to go straight to Portugal. So I think we'll see Reinildo in Portugal. But yeah, and Rigg, hopefully, yeah, he is back for that. And obviously, there was a comment from Alan Nixon. Again, it's Alan Nixon. Let's put that out there straight away. It is Alan Nixon, but at the same time, though, he did say something to the effect that Sunderland are offering Rigg a new deal. So let's hope there's something in that. Sorry, oh, there you go. Colin Associate, what striker would you love to see come in? Well, this is the thing. The ideal one would be probably Mikatadze, just because he's the one who we've been linked with so much over the last however many, weeks. But with sorry, I have to comment, Annie here. It's Struber, but I'll take it. I told you, my pronunciations are terrible. Or my memory of names is awful. Yeah, ideally be Mikatadze to come in, to go back to Colin's comment. But I cannot imagine that we probably will get him now. Leon have avoided relegation. I'll be very, very surprised if we did end up getting him at this point. So I think we're probably going to look elsewhere. And it'll be someone we haven't heard of. I wouldn't be against Vardy coming in on a free, but that's just me. Not as a main choice necessarily, but I would like him as a part of the squad. Jesse says, "Yeah, we'll need more to score more goals than Ramsdale. Let's yeah." Straight something in my mouth there. Sorry, easier said than done, I suppose. But you are not wrong necessarily. Last Palmer says Chelsea 2-0. Good evening to you, Barry Jordan. Hope you are doing okay, my friend. Let's see. Ryan, all right, mate. I've just seen we are interested in Salvatore Esposito from Spezia. I'm hoping I've got those names right. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Ian, I think we should go for Howard, Bellis, and Ergaard at the back line. People saying Johnston is shit, but honestly think he's decent. I think if you're signing Sam Johnston, because obviously that's one of the links. We've been linked with Sam Johnston from Wolves. If we're going for someone like him, then I think as a number 2, it wouldn't be a bad option. It really wouldn't be a bad option as a number 2. As a number 1, I'd be very disappointed not to get better than that, if I'm honest. But at the same time, I think I very much would like to, but I wouldn't be against seeing Sam Johnson come into the club. It just depends what he's got in terms of being a number 1. But I think we could get better as a number 1. But as a number 2, I would take him. Barry Jordan, we need a striker. We absolutely do. Ian says, Vardy alone will boost the average age of the squad immensely. Yeah, you're not wrong, are you? Yeah, he more than likely will be able to. So, yeah, with Vardy, as I said, I just think of a free signing for a year. I think you could do a lot worse. John says, with AFCON, Reinildo and Sadiki won't progress far with Mozambique and DR Congo, their nation. So maybe Talbi, Diarra, and Adingra, but not all 5 of our signings. Yeah, well, it depends if we sign any more. We like to sign African players, don't we? But I get the point you're making, though. All the signings we've made have been behind closed doors, so we might have a surprise tomorrow. Well, I'm at work tomorrow, and I'm at work for a long shift, actually. So based on that, we'll sign someone. Robin says, yeah, saw that. I guess we're still looking at midfield. M. Shian 18. Where do you see us finishing this season? The answer for me depends on the rest of the answer for me there depends on the rest of our business this window. As of right now, I think we finished 19th. I'm actually quite confident Burnley will finish bottom. I think Burnley will, and I know that obviously there's some decent Burnley fans out there and everything, but I do think that Burnley, they've lost Brownhill, they've lost Egan Riley, they could be losing James Trafford. They might lose Esteve, but personally, I don't think Esteve will leave Burnley. I don't think Burnley will accommodate losing him if they lose Trafford this window. But I personally feel like if they do that, I mean, Kyle Walker could be a decent signing for them. We don't know, but and I like him as a player. But I'm just not getting good vibes from Burnley, if I'm honest. I think Burnley will, and I'm not saying that. And right now, I think all the promoted teams go back down. But as of right now, that depends on the window. If we get the targets we want and they adapt to the Prem, my gut feeling says we can stay up. But again, much easier said than done. John says, Huggins was with bad luck knee injury, so I agree, Michael. He looks good. I like Niall. Yeah, I agree. I really like Niall Huggins as well, and I was gutted for him when he got injured against Coventry 18 months ago. SJ, we wanted Prem experience, and Adingra brings that, but we all seem to sign loads of wingers. Yeah, we do, don't we? Hello, John. Hope you're doing okay, my friend. Barry, Sirkin is a liability at times, so we should sell him. I'm not sure I view Sirkin as a liability necessarily at times, but I do. But I think if you mean a liability in terms of injuries, then yes. I know he actually played quite a lot at the back end of last season. He played a lot last season. I think he missed was one spell where I think he missed about 5-6 games, but in general he was pretty in general he was pretty reliable in terms of being able to be available fit. So yeah, but I know what you mean. And especially remember with the contract situation that if he ends up not signing, then I think we have to prepare ourselves for the fact that we could end up selling him. Peter Griffin, bird's the word, eh? Is there much budget remaining to sign a really good striker? Need a proven goal scorer to have any chance of staying up? I guess it depends, really. I mean, from a PSR point of view, apparently we could spend probably another 100 million if we wanted to. But again, that's rumours. I don't know how accurate that is. So I don't know. I hope there is. I mean, I hope we can. I mean, I do think the club will be targeting one. But obviously, as you know, it's probably going to be somebody from abroad. It's not going to be someone who's in the Premier League because obviously they cost a little thing called really big money, Premier League tax and stuff. So yeah, but I do agree. I would like to see another striker come in. Dave Wood, come on guys, show Michael some love and hit thumbs up. Oh yeah, and very quickly on that, thank you very much to everybody who subscribed last weekend when Sean was with me and we passed 6K. That was fantastic stuff. I was really over the moon with that. It's something I've been wanting to hit for a while, but obviously now I want to try and get a 7K, and hopefully it doesn't take 18 months to get there, but or longer to get there. Hopefully we'll get there in a shorter run of time. But thank you, David, and thank you to everyone who has subsubbed. It really means a lot. John Haswell. Phil Smith has said the next week or two, Rigg is ready to go to Portugal this week. Good. Glad to see. Actually, I heard Nixon gets paid by the Sun, so why does he need a Patreon for rumours? Andy's bandmate. Yeah, he has a habit of doing that, doesn't he? And, of course, who I've just done a live stream with, says, I heard you need Jordan Ayew. Nah, I think I'll go for Vardy on a free instead. I mean, I don't mind Jordan Ayew as a player, actually, but he's probably not Prem level now. Edward Young, England ladies 4-0. Good for them. Good to see. Tony Huntington, out of the three positions needed, goalkeeper, centre-back, centre-forward, the most important one I think is centre-back. Yeah, I think so. At the minute, I think we are, we've got Ballard and 09 there, and 09's going to miss the first 3 games, and with all due respect to 09, as much as I love him, I'm not convinced I want 09 starting in the Premier League, not with VAR and everything else. But yeah, I think they're the 3 I think we're looking at. So it's pretty much the spine of the team, isn't it, apart from centre midfield? I think centre-back is probably the one that I'm thinking, yeah, we really do need to get. At least one. We need 2 centre-backs, I think, for squad depth, but I would like to see, we need at least one of them to be a really pacey, strong, athletic centre-half, I think. So that's what we should be aiming for. Ollie, I think we should be getting Matthias Abline, rather. Let me try and see if I can get names properly. Hopefully. We'll see. Ken Udale. Hi, Michael. Would you take the Stoke keeper over Ramsdale? If we didn't get Ramsdale, obviously, then... Victor Johansson. Could be worse. Personally, for me, if I'm going for someone from the Championship, I'd rather go for Michael Cooper from Sheffield United. I think even in the amount of games when I've said that I thought Sheffield United got lucky in last season, and I stand by that largely, but Michael Cooper had a big hand in a lot of them. His distribution against us at Wembley was awful. It was almost as bad as what Patos tends to be. But I still rate Michael Cooper quite a bit, actually. Brew. If we get through this season, then I think we've got the structure to build top half Prem. Years to come, man. Imagine Europe. I agree. I think if we stay up this season, I can see Sunderland really progressing up the Premier League. I really can. As long as we keep the structure in place that we've got, I do believe we have got the capability to do that. I've seen some people say that we're going to get top 12 this season. You're kidding us. I think I'd just take 17th this season, let alone anything else. Malms, even Michael, looking forward to the Prem. Whatever happens, happens. I think we will stay up. If we get the business right for the rest of the window and it follows the trend of what we've done so far, then yeah, I don't see any reason why we can't, as long as maybe we need a few things to fall in our favour. Like, say West Ham, Wolves or Brentford, if any of them fancying a spell in the Championship, and Leeds and Burnley being cack. That's what we hope for, but we'll see. Ian, even though it was against Shields, it's great to see Mundell and Roberts putting in maximum effort to keep their place in the squad. Yeah, that's another thing, because I'm someone who's been of the opinion that I don't think Roberts will cut it at Premier League level, and I think Roberts will probably need to go. But if he's really wanting to put the effort into it, then that's all the merrier. Maybe, and knowing I'll with AFCON, he'll certainly get games. Steve says, I would take the Stokekeeper over Ramsdale, take Victor Johansson. That's fair enough. SJ, the Stokekeeper is decent, but I really wanted us to sign Petrovic. He's clearly gone for the easy option. Yeah. Sadly, Bournemouth are more established than us in the Premier League, which is, I know it's very depressing to say. I know it's very, very depressing to think like that, but it's just the reality, unfortunately. Chopsy says, haven't Burnley got a net spend close to us? I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong with that. Anyone correct me if I'm wrong there. I don't know what Burnley's situation is. SJ, so Burnley had £45 million before they even spent any Prem cash. I don't think so. Well, the thing is, what we had is that we've obviously had PSR over the number of years. And quickly, I did explain this on Fans React when I was doing a video with Sean earlier in the week. And it's on Fans React now if you go and watch. But there's like a 5-minute section where I attempt being the loose word, to explain how PSR works. So, yeah. Sorry, it's very quick. I just got a message from someone. But yeah. Sorry. But yeah, no, I think... I mean, I don't know. I keep hearing conflicting reports that Burnley... I think that Burnley apparently aren't in a great position with PSR, but I could very well be wrong with that. But obviously, you've got to remember, obviously, Sunderland haven't spent much over the last few years. And on top of that, we got also Clark and Job and Watson within the last 12 months. Ross Stewart the year before that. So, yeah, we should be in a good position to strengthen the most out of the 3 promoted clubs. And I know that there's this, quite frankly, bollocks about how Leeds and Burnley finished 24 points ahead of us. Now, that in itself isn't rubbish. It's mathematics. But what I mean is, a lot of people, those fans conveniently miss out the fact that we sacked off the last 6 games. Because let's be honest, we did. And it's not intentionally. It's not like we intentionally didn't try. It's more because we were trying to save ourselves for the playoffs. That was the whole objective. That was the whole point of rotating and resting and switching things up, etc. So that's the whole point of what we were doing. And those people don't mention that. But even then, Leeds and Burnley were definitely still better than us, and we needed to strengthen. But I'm not convinced either of them, particularly Burnley, have a better team than us now. So we should be in a better position to spend more. But again, the rest of the window will dictate if I'm right on that. And again, Nixon banned me because I asked him if he could take his hand out of Steve Cooper's scrotum. Oh, and I absolutely love that. 09 will be like McShane, a liability. Ian Brown needs a lot of competition. When you get promoted, the defence is the most important position on the pitch. It's definitely the most important in terms of cohesion and wanting to have a partnership. And as we're going to be on the back foot a lot, I think we're going to need some centre-backs. So yeah, we're going to need to sign at least one really quality one to go with Ballard. But ideally 2 centre-backs come in. 3-0 to Chelsea. Yeah, the games definitely sound not dull whatsoever. I'd love to go in for a second keeper at a top club. Someone in Kelleher's shoes. Well, obviously Kelleher's gone to Brentford, hasn't he? So, it's a shame. I wanted us to go for him, actually. SJ, I reckon the keeper is the most important player in my opinion. Like, when we signed Gordon, the saves he made were immense. Barry Jordan. What about Josh Sargent from Norwich? Or will it be a French forward? We really need a centre-back, and Triant is going back to Hibs as he had a great last season with them. I think there's things to consider there. To answer the question with Josh Sargent, if it wasn't for the fact that he was made of glass, I probably would. I think the most that Norwich should be expecting to get, being realistic, is 15 to 20 million, given his injury record. Now, I know that he's got another 3 years left on his contract there, and I know that obviously he's easily one of the best strikers in the Championship, but again, he's made of, well, breadsticks, basically, unfortunately for him. So I think if it weren't for that, you could get 25 million easily for him. But so Would I go for Sargent? No, personally, I think I'd like to see us sign better. But you know, if he's able to, I mean, if you're looking for a striker and you want someone from the Championship, then if I had to pick someone, Sargent, if he could stay fit, would maybe be amongst it. Ian, players like Roberts will get game time by default at the moment, just not in cup matches, but in December, January. SJ agrees with me pretty much. Not Sargent unless we're going to do a Norwich. Oh, sorry, unless we're going to do an Ipswich. Yeah, well, Ipswich basically signed the best of the Championship, didn't they? Which again, depending on how this season will go for them. I mean, they signed Cedric Keeper today, who I believe we were very loosely linked with, or something like that at the start of the window. I stress loosely because I don't know how much accuracy there is to that, but yeah, it's not necessarily a bad thing for them now. But yeah, I think so. I don't think we'll sign Sargent. Ian, Sargent is injury prone. SJ wouldn't be paying £20 million for Sargent, in my opinion. No, that's totally fair enough. I don't blame you for that. Sorry, there we go. Right, okay. So as we've pretty much caught up with the comments for now, obviously we'll try and keep up with them as the stream goes on. Let's quickly talk about the 3 new signings that we made this week. So obviously we got Reynildo Mandava. We had Chemsdean Talbi. I think that's how you say his name. And then obviously Simon Adingra on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and a Thursday. Yeah, let's quickly talk about them. So obviously Reynildo's the first one. Very quickly, what's Chopsy said. Is there anyone else you think we really will pick up to the pace of the Prem? If you mean in our current squad, I think Adingra, Diarra, Talbi potentially. I think Hume, Ballard, Lafay, maybe Mayenda. I think possibly Isidore. I don't know yet, but we don't know that until we start playing the games. Right, Reynildo. Let's start with him. So obviously he signed a 2-year contract, which was it roughly 65 grand a week? I think we're paying for him. I think what's impressive about this one is that, and again, this is the Sun, I believe, who said this. So again, get that salt pinched. But I think if that is accurate, we apparently beat Palace and Forest for him, and they're both clubs that are obviously competing for in the Europa Conference League. They're competing in Europe within European football. So I think in that regard, I think there's a real sense of optimism about this one, and I think some of the things he said, like selling the project and someone of his elite level experience, I think is going to be massive. He seems to be quite quick. I mean, I know he's not going to be as quick as what he was, being 31 years old, but I think it's going to be really good experience for the dressing room. I'd still like Premier League experience, but he's got elite level experience that I think will prove to be extremely handy for us. So I'm quite happy with that signing. Ian Brown. Adingra is a top signing. He ticks all the boxes the promoted club needs for the Prem. He gives Ahmad vibes. Colin Major snap. Sign me, I'll go in between the sticks for them. Lol. The second signing we made, which obviously was Chemsdean Talbi, from Club Brugge, I believe it is, or Club Brugge, however you pronounce it these days, for a fee of roughly around 20 million quid, I think it is. Now, again, like with Reynildo, I haven't seen anything of him play. I don't know barely anything about him. One of the things I did notice, apparently he is quite a rapid player, and he's going to be suited like what Adingra is. From what I think, is it Ian who's put this? Yeah, that Ian was talking about Adingra being a top level signing. But I think if he seems Adingra is rapid, we know that. Talbi appears to be rapid, and I think one of the things that's going to be quite encouraging about that is the way we play when it talks about the transition and everything like that. I think the way we're going to be setting up is to be compact, keep our shape. Let teams have more of the ball, but as soon as they lose it, we are press and we're bang on them on the counter attack. That's what I think is going to be quite vital in that sense to how we set up and how we play. So I think Talbi could potentially be a really handy player in that regard, but I also think at the same time that he got told, I believe, by the club that he's not the only player we're signing in his position. So actually, that's quite encouraging on that front. Every interview the players have done when they come into the club has talked about the ambitious project and how they're guaranteed the spotlight. Absolutely. That's really encouraging. Well, that's what I mean. And actually, to quickly, hang on, what's this one? Chopsy. Do you think that AFCON, when people will go on players like Mayenda and Kindle, I'm guessing you mean Mundle, will have improved to fill in the gap? The honest answer is I don't know. Until they get exposed to Prem football, we can't answer that, I don't think. Now, to quickly go on what SJ said, was the Talbi interested in Liverpool? Funny you should say that. I don't know if he was interested in Liverpool or not. I believe the likes of Madrid and Atletico Madrid and Dortmund and all that. I could be wrong, but I think they were interested in him. One of the things I was going to... Yeah, that's fine, Jobsy, no worry. I thought you meant Mundle. Hello, Paul. How you doing? But quickly on Talbi. Carl, who I do the Championship review stuff with, or did, obviously, because obviously both Leeds and Sunderland got promoted. He spoke to Doug. Now, if you recommend, I watch you go on the Total Levy Football Podcast, I think is Carl's name is. Sorry, Carl, I know you got quite a long channel name, so I didn't remember it fully. And then you've got the Dugout Football channel. Now, Carl, both of them live in Scotland, by the way. I think I'm meeting both of them for the Hearts game in a couple of weeks. But Doug's a Liverpool fan, and Carl's a late Leeds fan. Now, the reason I say that is because when we signed Talbi, Carl put in a group chat that he thought that Liverpool should have gone for him. Now, if he's good enough to be considered for Liverpool, he should definitely be good enough for Sunderland. So that's what excites me more than anything else. Now, like with, say, Adingra or with Diarra or Siddiqui, getting these guys on 5-year contracts is massive because if in a year's time we get relegated, if the worst happens, then we've got each of them still on 4 years. And that's going to be huge for us in terms of, say, sell-on values or being able to keep them for another year or whatever else it is. But Talbi, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I don't know whether, but to answer what SJ said before, I don't know whether Liverpool were in for him. But if Atletico Madrid and Dortmund were, then Liverpool can't have been far off, surely. Assuming, of course, there is interest. So Paul says, hi, Michael. A keeper, strengthening the defence, a striker, maybe some Prem loans players. I have a positive feeling RE this season. Do you think that any teams were more likely to get loans from? If you're asking me about the loans, I would say maybe someone like Oscar Bob from Man City, someone like that. Maybe Jaden Dance if he keeps liking Sunderland's Instagram stuff. I think personally the loan market's going to be massive, and I think the loan market we won't dip into until very late in the window. I think that'll be when the established Prem clubs will probably have their business done. They'll have what they want to do in order, and then loan players will become available, and so on and so forth. So maybe I'm used to that from being in the Championship. Oh my god! Sorry, guys. I tried very hard not to yawn there, but of course it was impossible for me pretty much. But either way, I think the loan market will be key actually, because obviously, especially if we're considering PSR, then I don't know. But to answer your question, I think sorry, can't even talk properly. Yeah. To answer your question, Paul, I think it'll be some from like the established big six clubs, pretty much. Tony Hutton, off to work, everyone. After work, don't enjoy the show. Enjoy the show, everyone. Don't forget to hit the like button. Thank you very much. And yes, if you could hit the like button, guys, that'd be much appreciated. Sorry, Tony, and I hope you get through work as quickly as possible, mate. SJ, you'll still be on when you get back, Tony. I love it. You keep fabricating it, you feel it'll happen, but it's not. Sorry, mate. Sorry to disappoint. Ian Brand, I take a loan with an automatic buy if we survive. Yeah, I think that's what that might be what we end up doing in terms of the loan deals on loans, and I think we'll look to try and maybe get loans with options to buy if we do end up staying up. So I think that's going to be pretty important in that sense. But yeah, so that's a question on loans. Yeah, I think we'll do that at the end of the window. And then obviously the last signing we made, I'll keep trying. I love that. Fair play to you, mate. The last signing I'll touch upon is the one that excites me the most out of the three. Now, again, I want to stress these are signings I obviously have not watched play. But Adingra is the one that's come closest to the one that I know at least a bit about to some extent. And quickly, we've got 100 people watching. I've just seen on YouTube, which is absolutely mental. So honestly, guys, if you could hit the like button, that would mean so much. And if you get, and people who, and again, like I always say, if people who aren't subscribed, if you're watching and you aren't subbed, then hit the sub button if you consider it. That'd be much appreciated, because obviously I'm trying to get my sub count up if you think I've earned a sub from you. So yeah, that'd be much appreciated. Right, before I talk about Adingra, let's see, Dave says, hi Michael, I've been watching the last couple of weeks, but first time watching live. Thanks very much, Dave. Hope you're well. Edward Young, I think we might surprise people this season. Maybe, like I said before, for me, I think it all depends on recruitment. All depends on recruitment. I'll leave that comment on there for now. Hopefully we do surprise people, though, Edward. Hopefully you're right. Right, quickly on Adingra. Like with Talbi and Diarra and Siddiqui and all that stuff, 5-year contract. So obviously we signed him from Brighton. Of course, we incidentally signed Tommy Watson at the end of last season, pretty much, for 20 million quid, roughly. I think when it comes to Adingra, I know there's been arguments about why haven't more established Prem clubs kept Adingra. Like, why are Brighton willing to let him go? Why hasn't more established clubs gone for him? The simple answer is, I think, because Mitoma, who plays for Brighton, I believe, I could be wrong, I haven't watched much of the Prem in recent times, but I believe Mitoma is one of the most sought-after players in the Premier League, or at the very least one of the more higher-rated players in the Prem. Now, I believe him and Adingra play in the same positions. Now, Adingra's probably not going to get ahead of Mitoma if Mitoma's that highly rated. So coming to Sunderland, I think he's going to be the main man. He's going to be one of the main wingers. He's going to be one of the ones who starts pretty much every game for us, apart from when he's at AFCOM, obviously, unless he's injured or suspended. And I think the way we play is that, and Ant made a very good point, Leicester fan who I did, a mate of mine who's Leicester, a Leicester fan, sorry, who I did a live stream with before coming on here. One of the things that he said was the fact that in quick transition, that's where Brighton Prisky were a possession-based team and had a lot of the ball. And I think that's where Adingra might have had not had space to run into. Whereas when Sunderland play on the transition, we're going to be playing on the counter a lot. So Adingra is going to have a lot of space to run into from behind defences because they're going to be committing quite a few people forward. So, and the technicality I've seen of that guy is just mental. And I believe we also tried to sign him in January, didn't we? In fact, no, I know for a fact we tried to sign him in January when Watson was on the verge of going to Brighton. Sorry, and we tried to get him on loan as part of the deal, I believe. Now, obviously, we've established that interest in him. So 6 months later, we've been able to get him permanently. And that's really, really key to that deal, I think. So, and he was on the last year of his contract as well. So we've paid probably slightly more than I think we should have had to, but that's the Premier League. You have to pay for players like that. And I've seen fans like Conor McGilligan, who's a Leeds fan, really good guy, saying that was a cracking, and a lot of people saying that's a cracking signing for a promoted side, and I probably tend to agree. Someone who's got 60 Premier League appearances, I believe, over the last 2 seasons. How many of them were sub appearances, I don't know, but that's the one that's excited me the most. And I think when we're playing on the transition, we're going to have to play players that are going to be bloody good on the transition, and that are going to be really helping in that regard. And I think Adingra's certainly got Adingra on paper at least. I need to watch him play first, obviously, but Adingra on paper at least should have the quality to be able to do that. Miles Percival, can I just say thanks for explaining the PSR rules the other day, Michael? For an old fella like me, it's hard to get me head round. And he says, cheers, mate. No, not a problem. I think because PSR is something that I've wanted to try and do myself, as in I've wanted to try and understand it myself. And I believe through researching it, that's kind of how it works. I think that's how it works anyway, where basically, guys, for those who haven't watched the Fans React video, the long story short is, if you're buying a player, say if you buy a player, let's say Adingra, we buy him for 20 million. We don't pay £20 million up front straight away. We spread that fee over the course of his 5-year contract. So that'd be £4 million the first year, £4 million the second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year, and so on. But when you get a player, when you receive a fee for a player, like a Joe Bellingham, for example, the fee you get for that player goes onto that financial year's account all in one go. And so that's kind of how it works with PSR. So although obviously we haven't spent much this year, PSR financial year, we're going to be still loading. We're still going to be paying these players deals for these players years down the line. That's kind of how I understand it. But whereas with a player, when you receive a fee, it goes onto the account straight away. So basically, it's a way for clubs to make their finances look better. Ian Brown, good to see Labrise is taking charge with a lot of the decisions. He's adapting very well into the club. I'd like to think he is, since he's been here a year now. But considering he got us promoted through the playoffs and competing for the top 2 last season with parachute payment teams, not done too bad, has he, to be fair to the guy. Ian Brown, I watched the video may have made with Sean. Great video. Thank you very much, my friend. I've sent Sean an invite, actually, to see if he's able to come on. But if he's not, he's not. It's fine. Barry John, what's the latest on that defender from Millwall? You mean Jaffet Tanganga, I believe. So I don't know. I suspect that's probably got. If Esteve leaves Burnley, I'd imagine he probably would go to Burnley. That's my gut feeling. I've said before, if his release clause is 1.2 million or less than 2 million, I'd personally go for him as like a fourth choice or fifth choice centre back if we need that many, particularly if we're trying to adapt with a back 3. Because then I think in a year's time, if you get relegated, he should be good enough for the Championship, and if you stay up, you sell him to help you with PSR. You'd make a massive profit on him. So I don't know. SJ, is Labrise getting quite a few coaches in as well? Exactly what you wanted when you first came in. Absolutely. Tanganga, Millwall player. Paul Armour says, do you think Dan Neil and Co will sign new contracts? My gut says Sirkin will. I'm not sure about Dan Neil at the minute, and I'd like to know why Dan Neil hasn't signed a new contract, to be honest. And I think with both of these guys, if we're at the point where before the season starts, if they still haven't signed the contract, then I think there's an argument that you sell both of them to get money for them, and you can reinvest it in other positions or players in those positions anyway. Steven says, I don't want Dan Neil. Sorry. SJ, is that because Neil made a mistake against South Shields? Did he? Now, I missed the first 20 minutes of the Shields game, so it might have been in there, but I don't remember him making a mistake if it was after the first 20, 25. Ian Brown, Forest have spent 170 mil most from any promotion club. We should be able to break that. We should, but you also got to remember they got sanctioned with a points deduction the following season. So we also, at the same time, while we should be able to break it financially, we should be able to we should be careful to some degree with what we're doing, while still being ambitious enough to spend at the same time. Eddie, that's got to be the end of the investment in Africans. Yeah. Sorry, you reminded me of the shirt we did so many years ago. And when it comes down to everything when it comes down to the Invest in Africa shirt, what was it, like 12 years ago? 12, 13 years ago. Which, Jesus, I feel old now, having just thinking like that. Stephen Mont, I just don't think he is good enough. Out of interest, Stephen, why do you think that? You're not alone, by the way. I've seen some people that don't rate Dan Neil. I personally do, and I think with a good midfield next to him, I think Dan Neil might surprise a few people. But there you go. I don't know. But I'm just curious to see Stephen's point of view too, because obviously he's entitled to his opinion, which is fair enough. And Eddie says that was a play on it. fair enough. That was a play on it. Yeah, we took the Invest in Africans quite literally, didn't we? But yeah, no, I think so. Obviously, in the last couple of days, it's gone fairly quiet when it comes down to new potential signings and everything else. Since Adingra signed, there's obviously been loose rumours here and there, but nothing particularly concrete in that sense. What's this one? Eddie, you not watching the Club World Cup? No, frankly, I don't really have that much interest in it. I think, yeah, but I mean, obviously, look, when the club, I mean, that's another thing. Now the Club World Cup's coming to an end after tonight. I don't know. It might be that Chelsea maybe have more players that they want to let go, and it might be that Sunderland are able to be in a position to capitalise and pounce in that regard. So who knows? SJ, if he was called Danilo Neil, he might get more respect. Or if he has a more Spanish-sounding name or something. Let's see. Jazz Baz Ramataz, hello, my friend. Good evening, lads and lasses. I watched because Cole Palmer is playing. 2 already for him. So we'll sign Cole Palmer then, are we? But yeah, I mean, quickly on there was a comment that talked about Adingra being like sort of the Ahmad sort of role. Well, Ahmad's such a tease. I don't know if you guys have seen, but basically the tweet he put. In fact, let me see if I can find it, and I'll show you it. But long story short, when Sunderland signed Adingra, Ahmad basically commented on it. Let's see. Where is it? Sunderland AFC. Hang on. Can't frame it. Give us a minute. I'm just waiting for the thing to actually bother to load. Right, so this would have been Thursday when we signed Adingra, wasn't it? Yeah, I get it. We played Shields. Hang on, come on. But yeah. Funny enough, SG, I know it did say, well, I'm just trying to show people who aren't on Twitter. But if you bear with us, I'll be able to get it. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Oh my God. Because I know they retweeted his comment, didn't they? So let's see. Here we go. Here it is. So if you can see it, Amad Diallo responding to Sunderland's tweet going, wow. Now, this is the thing. Ahmad is absolutely a tease here. I swear this is going to keep happening until if and when he eventually signs for us. And I've said all along that Ahmad is simply not realistic. I just don't see a world in which Ahmad comes back to Sunderland now, unfortunately. I'd love to be proven wrong, but yeah, it just goes to show. Ahmad just loves Sunderland, doesn't he? But yeah. Let's see. But yeah, no, apparently if Adingra is like Ahmad or anywhere close to him, then I think we've got a good chance of being okay, I think. Ian, during AFCON we play Leeds. That is a 3-point game. Yeah, I agree. I think Leeds, I'm a bit disappointed they're missing Leeds at home, because I think that's one of the ones that you need to be realistically targeting 3 points in that regard. Obviously, you're going to target 3 points in every single game. But I mean that, sorry, I've been tagged on Twitter for something. What's this? Jamie Vardy knows something. Hang on. Sunderland Valencia. Sorry, so basically Sunderland have been loosely linked with Jamie Vardy. But again, I don't know how this source probably is a load of nonsense. But honestly, I think for me, we could do a lot worse than signing Jamie Vardy myself. I just think he would absolutely be worth trying to sign him, but that's just me. Either way, I think, sorry, that was what, so, and basically the Leicester fan said trip up to Sunderland next season, so that'd be quite good. Be good to see and maybe come to a Sunderland game. Who knows? Depends if he wants. But obviously depends if he wants to or not. Maybe Sunderland Leicester in the FA Cup third round. But who knows? But if Adingra's anywhere close to Ahmad, then yes, I think we should be in for a hell of a player. But yeah, I've lost track of what I was saying. See, guys, the stream's all over the place, and the fact that 100 of you are still nearly watching, testament to you, to a lot of you, really mental. What is the defender we've been linked with today? Now, this was someone who has the surname Diakite. No, it's not Mobido Diakite, before anyone says, the one we signed 11 years ago, but someone from Lille, is it? I think. So yeah, loosely linked, but again, the thing I've noticed with the Premier League is, that every 10 articles or stories that are put about Sunderland, 9 of them tend to be bullshit. Let's be honest. Right, let's see. Stephen Motley was poor in the Championship for me. Maybe played 4, maybe good games if that. I disagree with that, Stephen, quite heavily. I think that Dan Neil was excellent in the first part of last season, and I would say there was quite way more than 4 good games for me personally. I think maybe towards the end there was a spell where he did dip, and I think in the playoff final he wasn't great, but I also don't think he was terrible by any means. But again, Dan Neil seems to be Marmite. Some people love him, some people don't like him, so I don't know. Remains to be seen. I mean, hey, you might get your wish, Stephen. Maybe if he doesn't sign a contract, we'll sell him, and then he won't be at Sunderland anymore. Who knows? And that's not meant as a dig, by the way. You're entitled to your opinion. Eddie, which positions? Blah, 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 I'll try again. Which positions are we going to further strengthen, you reckon? I think we're going to sign 2 centre-backs, a goalkeeper, right back to compete with Hume, and a striker. I think that's kind of the ones you need, unless we have any more departures. So obviously if Dan Neil leaves, we need another midfielder then. You could argue we need another midfielder now, to be honest. But yeah, if Dan Neil goes, we definitely need another one. David, we could never afford Ahmad. Sadly not. It's a shame, but sadly not. SJ, we're after another midfielder anyway. Regarding Neil, Italy International. Well, okay, if we're after another midfielder anyway, then 2 midfielders if Neil goes then. Paul Ahmed, do you think the club was ever interested in bringing Henderson back? Probably not, to be honest, but I think personally that's a mistake. I think Henderson's experience, I know it's a sentimental signing, or is viewed as a sentimental signing, but I just think just because it's sentimental doesn't mean it doesn't logically make sense either. So I think Henderson would be massive for experience in later on in games. So yeah, it is a shame really, but I think I'd like to have seen Henderson come back, but can't do anything about it now. And Brentford are signing him to replace Norgard, I believe, aren't they? Ian Brown, would he come after what we said about his wife? Remind me what we said about his wife. I think it was some like chant about his wife. To be honest, I think Vardy's the type of person who wouldn't let that get to him. I don't think. I could be wrong. I could be something in the news might come out in the reports. News reports might come out and make me say that I'm wrong, but I think Vardy just kind of washes it off. Really, I think he thrives off that more than anything else. Ian Brown, let's see. If we can't sign Leon Makatazi, would we go for Grace Kelly Mika? They stayed up as well in League Earn. I have no idea who you're talking about, mate. So I'm going to have to end up. You're going to have to inform me on him, I'm afraid. But maybe it wouldn't surprise me if we signed someone from France, since that's where half our business seems to come from. David Scott, why don't we go for Pickford? Bring him home. I'd absolutely be on board with that tenfold, but it probably won't happen. SJ says Pickford only come back when it's his last year before retirement. See, I'm not so sure. I think in the next, if say Sunderland stayed up, I could see Pickford coming back to Sunderland. Not this season, but maybe the year after next. And again, that's if we stay up. If we're in the Championship, obviously not. Eddie, Rigg's development is likely to be stunted now, in my opinion. Not many 18-year-olds play a lot of minutes in the Prem unless they're very special. It might be that we obviously, as SJ says, Rigg is special. Yeah, absolutely. I think with Rigg, what we need to do with him is get him tied down. And I've said this a lot. He's got 2 years left on his contract. So I want to get him off that. And I want to get him on a 5-year deal. Because I think Rigg has got something about him here. And I think, Rigg obviously will develop into a superstar if he keeps going at the right attitude. And there's nothing to suggest he won't, by the way. I think there is definitely reasons to think that he definitely will be on the right track for himself. So, yeah, Rigg, we need to get him tied down. And I think Rigg, obviously, we need options, don't we? Rigg, and if he stays, Rigg will certainly get option time in the AFCON weeks. Mason Smith, we're apparently in for Diakite from Lille. Yeah, I did see that earlier today, my friend. James Bowens. I think James has said this before. Rigg swap for Ahmad. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just don't see Ahmad coming back here, unfortunately. Ideally, I'd like to keep Rigg as well as getting Ahmad, but that's not going to happen. But we'll see. Eddie, I'm guessing you mean... Oh, yeah, I think you mean Rigg here. Wasn't that special second half of the season, unfortunately, Rigg. Could have been burnt out, but still. Yeah, I mean, well, like I said, you got to remember with Rigg last season, like the same with Dan Neil the year. Sorry, not Daniel. Like the same with Joe Bellingham the year before. Dan Neil in his first season when we were in League One. You know, these players. Look how much better. Look how much better Job was, for example, in his second season after he adapted in the first year to having to have whatchamacallit, you know, after having that season where he maybe gets fatigued and burnt out at the end, and then he's obviously got used to it more by the time his second season comes around. So that might happen with Rigg. We don't know, or we certainly hope in a good way it does. SJ, who's this keeper from that we're after that Man United are rumoured to be after as well? Is this some Belgian guy? I can't remember what his name is, but yeah, I've loosely seen that. But again, it's hard for me to know what to believe really when we're talking about Sunderland in the Prem. Eddie, Ahmad is on an upward trajectory. There's no chance that he comes back. Yeah, look, I probably agree with that. I'd be very surprised again if Ahmad did end up returning. I'd love to be wrong on that. I'd absolutely love for him to be returning to Sunderland, but I just don't see it. I don't see how he wants to leave Man United. When Man United obviously an elite-sized club, I know they haven't performed like it in recent times, and I know that last year they definitely weren't. But in terms of size, they still have the pull of being an elite-level club. And I think as well that Ahmad's just starting for them now. Starting for Sunderland, starting for Man United are two completely different things. So for me, I think, while I know Ahmad loves Sunderland, I could see Ahmad returning in 10 years' time to Sunderland if we're still interested in him by that point. But but at the same time, I just don't see Ahmad coming back. I don't see a world where that happens, unfortunately. And I agree with Eddie. I just think if Ahmad's on an upward trajectory and he's one of Man United's better players, why would he come back to Sunderland? To me, it just does not make sense, sadly. I'd love to be wrong on that again, but we'll see. We'll see. One way or another, we shall see. I'll have a quick look through forums and stuff to see if I can see anything. If I can see anything that's sort of going on. Let's see. Come on. Let's have a look. The deal between Arsenal. Oh yeah, this is about Arsenal for Victor Gyökeres. Yeah, I'm just looking through online very quickly to see if I can find anything. Don't think there's anything else more interesting in there, unless something breaks in the next few. All right, hang on. Here we go. Got a few comments. Oh, yeah, sorry, got a couple more. Robin Hood, I had to step away. Apologies if you covered this. What are some marquee centre backs you'd like to see? You could see us bring in. Well, ideally Singo from Monaco, but I don't think that's going to happen now. Just because I'm only saying that just because he was loosely linked at the start of the window, wasn't he, or just after promotion was secured. So someone like that, maybe this Diakite from Lille potentially. Like I've said to you, Robin, I think there's going to be a lot of players that we sign that I have absolutely bought all about and no idea who any of them are. And as long as they're good enough, I have no problem with that. Ian, as much as I love Ahmad to pieces, we aren't giving him 130k a week, plus Man United are a global club. Yep. I think you're right there, I'm afraid. Mason, Ahmad is good to a key asset, too key an asset to Man United. They wouldn't entertain possibly selling him and potentially selling him to anyone. Yeah, I agree. They'd be stupid to do that. Speakman says SJ says, Speakman says we're after several players, hopefully 2 defenders on that list. I think 2 central defenders will be. But I would be very, very surprised if more than that. I'm very surprised if we weren't after defenders, I should say. Program, don't think Man U have signed anyone yet. Yeah, well, obviously not selling Ahmad, are they? Ian, let's see. Do Cov have a sell-on clause for Gyökeres? I think they do. I think it's like 15% or something like that. So if obviously Gyökeres is on the verge of going to Arsenal, which I think is an excellent signing for Arsenal, to be fair. But I think if you're looking at on the verge of that, then I'm quite. Then I think I think Coventry do have a sell-on clause in that, and I'd be keen, not against us obviously, but I'd be keen. I hope Gyökeres is suspended for both Sunderland games, but I think in most teams in the Prem, I think he's going to be. I'm very excited to see what he does. Mom's like, get what you're saying, Man U isn't as good as they once were. No, they're not, and I agree with that, but they're still going to be levels above. So I actually think Man United will do a lot better in the Prem this season. I'm not saying like top 5 or anything like that, but I think they should be in the top half, really. I know their squad's obviously like at the moment in terms of attitude and stuff, but you got to remember, I think a lot of last season it was down to them sort of prioritising the Europa League and stuff like that the longer the season went on. So I don't know. But I get the point you're making, but I'd be very surprised if Ahmad left Man U to come here. Not saying I know, and I know you're not saying he'll come back. By the way, I just want saying that to make a point. I think we'll get 2 more in before we fly out this week. Well, I believe from what everyone was saying, they want their main bulk done in before Portugal, don't they? So that's going to be fascinating. Michael, we are short back and still need to have proper strikers. We do. We have Mendo and Isidore, but I do agree we need another one. I think at least. Let's see, Eddie. They can't do any worse. Lol. Realistically, well, you'd think not, but Sunderland in particular are also kings of holding my beer when they couldn't get any worse. And Eddie, I'll quickly answer your question here. Are you going to follow the Championship? I'm thinking Ipswich win the league next season. Yes, I will still be following the Championship. I do think there's a good chance that I'm still going to be doing the Championship panel stuff with the likes of, say, and possibly, if you want to, Leicester fan, Annie, Bristol City fan, maybe Carl. I think a lot of us are on about maybe in the next few weeks, potentially, I might have them on here, to be fair, potentially doing a big Championship preview, and then we can just go through the division and talk about what we think is going to happen and stuff like that. Because I think I'm not going to bother with a Premier League predictions video, because what's there to say? Oh, well, if Sunderland don't do X, Y, and Z, they'll be relegated. The gap's big, blah blah blah. There's not much point to it. I think I wouldn't find it very interesting. Whereas I probably am going to do a Championship predictions one. I might even do a Championship predictions live stream, to be honest. As in, like, predicting the season and predicting who I think will finish where. But yes, I am still going to be watching the Championship. So to answer your question, Eddie, absolutely. The Championship's still in the mental division. Ian, unbelievable to think if we where we'd be if we didn't get promoted. The advancements would be unbelievable. Yeah, it's scary to think, isn't it? If Tommy Watson hadn't scored that winner at Wembley, what would have happened with, how many of our assets would he be been able to keep? Obviously, sorry for doing that. I know Job's left anyway, but we were going to lose a hell of a lot more than Job if we'd stayed in the Championship. I think Rigg potentially would have been off, Dan Neil, Dennis Sirkin, Trey Hume, Dan Ballard potentially, stuff like that. I think we would have been losing quite a few players if we hadn't have got promoted. So, and with how competitive the Championship's going to be next season, by the way, when you got Leicester, Ipswich, Southampton, well, Leicester depend on points reductions, but they should be in amongst it. Sheffield United, then you've got Coventry, Middlesbrough, Norwich, West Brom, Wrexham could be trying to compete, Birmingham. Like, it's such a tough division. Millwall, dark horses under Lord Voldemort. Everything's going to be so competitive next season. And I'm so happy we got out of it when we did. Obviously, we might get relegated, but at least we're going to have parachute payments if we do. And there's obviously a chance that we want to have a chance of trying to stay up this season. I do think Mayenda has the capability of surprising a lot of people next season when given the chance. I agree. James says, Anton Stack from Hoffenheim would be an amazing signing. Is this just to annoy Leeds? Because as SJ says here, Leeds after Stack, everything else, yeah, be just typical us, wouldn't it? Cool yourself, Eddie? Absolutely. Paul Ahmed, do you think we will bring in competition for Hume, or do they see Huggins playing a part? I don't know. Right back hasn't really been mentioned, has there, as a area of interest in terms of signing. My personal feeling, I would go for Kyle Walker-Peters to compete with Hume, if he'll be willing for it, but I don't know. Brian Greener, I have to say, Michael, this is your best quality stream yet, and the layout is fantastic, mate. Good show. Thank you very much. I do think the layout does look a bit better. Bear in mind, guys, I'm still getting used to this. It's called console.evmux. Well, obviously, you can see there. I'm still getting used to doing this, so the more I used to it I get, the better these streams should look, hopefully. But I'm glad to hear that, Brian. Thank you very much. Let's see. Ian, Prem predictions are pointless. We have to be biased and say 16 or 17. Fair enough. Eddie, Giles and Steve's predictions will be interesting next season. I don't think they predicted us to lose once. Last season we would have went up with 140 points. Oh, imagine that. Hey, well, take not losing any games this year means we get at least 38. All we got to do is win, maybe beat Burnley twice, for example, if we can. Razim says, if we're going to stay up Premier League solid, back and go. Yep. No, that's totally fair enough. Why is this not coming down here? Oh, yeah. Ian Brown, we would have lost more or less the full squad. Maybe not quite not more or less the full squad on most of it, but we would certainly have lost a good half of it, I think. Or at least a good third of it, of the core. And SJ says, seriously doubt we'd have lost most of the squad. We'll wait and see. David Scott, poor Jack coming down and we go up, but you'll do well next season. If Ipswich do not get the best out of Jack Clark next season, then that is criminal on Kieran McKenna's part. Hi, Michael. Do you think we've gone too heavy too early in the transfer market? Bearing in mind we still haven't got any strikers, central defenders, or keeper. I get what you mean, but no, I personally don't think we have. And the reason I say that is because I think you've got to remember we need signings to integrate very quickly to have a chance of staying up. And I think that getting some of this core business done now means we have less to focus on later. So I get what you mean. I think we'll be quite busy. I think we might see another 1 or 2 signings this week, to be honest. Knowing my luck, it'll be when I'm at work or when I'm out on a long walk. But I take the point. We do still need a few positions, of course. We absolutely do. Let's try and get this. There we go. Let's get the brightness up a little bit. Sorry. Ian, we would have been stuck in the championship forever if we didn't win the competition. Is unbelievable. I don't know if I'd say we would have been stuck in there forever, but I think next season would definitely have been quite some way harder than this season. SG too heavy. It's important we get them in early, in my opinion. It's good to bed them in, surely. Absolutely, I agree. Good night, Barry. Hopefully you're doing all right. Yep, off to bed now. How are the lads? Martin Stevenson, going to be some team for the championship next season. This, well, we'll see, mate. And I know I can tell by the look on him he is a Burnley fan. So yeah, hopefully, we'll see when Burnley and Sunderland are competing next season. James Boyes, no, but yes. You sound like Vicky Pollard. No, but you're a bot. No, but you're a bot. So yeah, like I said, Prem predictions are pointless at the minute. At the minute, it's hard to argue any of the promoted teams staying up. But we'll see. My gut says I think we have the best chance if we get the signings that we want to get. And I mean like a good level, but because we've signed, like I said before, when Fabrizio Romano's put something on Twitter, most of the responses from non-Sunderland fans, or a lot of them have been, how have Sunderland managed to get him? But these guys obviously have to adapt to the Prem, don't they? Let's see. Martin Smith, do you think Aaron Ramsdale is a suitable option? I'd like better, but I wouldn't be surprised. But I suppose, to be fair, is he downgrade from Pato? I don't think he is. Is he massively an upgrade, though? That's the big question. Martin Stevenson, I'll be right there with you. Fair enough. At least with you, Martin, to be fair, I think your name's Martin. Let me go back and check quickly. Well, once this thing lets me. Martin, let me just put it this way. I know Martin might be fishing for bite, who knows, but let's just say it this way, Martin. At least you're proving my point that clean sheets do get you promoted last season. Let's see. Michael, where do you work? Washington, D.C., mate. Let's see. My top tip for this coming season, Mayenda. His performance increased exponentially over last season. He's very driven and should continue upward trajectory. I like your thinking, mate. Ian Brown, we should have the best chance of staying up because Leeds Burnley squads would end up being fully renovated like ours. So it's about who makes the best signings. Yeah, I think I do tip us to make better signings than Leeds and Burnley. I'm not saying Leeds and Burnley make crap signings by any means. I like Kyle Walker for Burnley, for example, but I think Sunderland will be looking in a bigger market than that. The question is, are we going to be able to get them in when more established sides have got more money to throw than what we have? That's the big that's my big question mark on that, I suppose. So we'll see. But yeah, it is going to be a fascinating one. It is going to be a fascinating one. Let's see, I'm not fishing, pal. We won't score enough goals to stay up, and you haven't the squad size to stay up, in my opinion. I'll wait and see what happens at the end of the window, Martin, before I say that. Right now, I agree with you, but at the end of the window, we'll see. Alan Brown, as for keepers, I'd have Johansson from Stoke and Ramsdale. Yeah, you're not the first person, Alan, who said that. Quite a few people have. Jim, wildcard pick Abdullahi, rated more highly than Mayenda when he joined. If he can get up to speed second half of the season, him and Mayenda could terrorise defences with their pace and physicality. My opinion is I think Abdullahi will get a loan. And I don't think that's a bad move for him either. I'd like him to get moved to a club where he's going to play regularly. If he's good, then maybe like a high-end League One or low-end or a Championship club. If he's good enough, then I'd be on board with getting him one for that, but we'll see. Mason Smith says, I do think our style of play will suit the task at hand. Possibly. Well, I think that one thing that might give us a better shot, potentially, over Leeds and Burnley, is the fact that Regis will be adapting to the Premier League, and the way that we play, which has been on the transition, I think will suit us in the Premier League quite a lot. Hence why we've gone for signs like Talbi and Adingra and Reinildo and Diarra and Siddiqui and players like that. We've gone for that because we believe they will help us on the transition. So we must let high potential players go out on loan. Pointless them staying here. Yeah, I agree. I think they need to be going out and playing. And remember as well, if Abdullahi goes out, say, in the Championship and does well, if we do end up back there in a year's time, then we've got another option to use for that division. Andrew McGuinness, hello, buddy. Hi, hello, Bowersy. Do we bring in Midfield just to get through pre-season and first few games? Might be worth 3-4 million just for that. Desperate for several defenders. Well, I wouldn't be against if we spent, say, 25 to 30 million on a top draw centre-half, and then you sign Metham as squad cover, because he's got a year left at Bournemouth, and I think if you got paid up to 5 million, I think for that price, I probably would do it, to be fair. Right, guys, I think I'm going to wrap that up. We've been live for over an hour, and I think I've pretty much exhausted everything that I can pretty much stretch the stream out for over an hour. But I will say in future reference, guys, I might be doing live streams with Ant, who supports Leicester. You've seen him in the chat before. I'll quickly get a comment from him just so you can see what his handle looks like. But let's see if I can find it. Yeah. So just an example. Ant's Leicester fan channel. He's a really great guy. So go and subscribe to. Hang on. There we go. Go subscribe to this guy. I basically will be doing live streams with him potentially every week, maybe every Sunday. So this means we might be changing the streams around a little bit. But yes, so I will. But yeah, so I think we are going to be doing more and more videos. I think me and Sean in particular on Fans React, as Ian's just putting here. Great show. See you on Sunday. Are you and Sean doing another video? I think we're probably going to. I think we can't promise it'll be every week, but we're going to try and get videos out more regularly. Maybe videos where we react to the news and react to what's happened in the last week or so with Sunderland. But no, it's been great. And just quickly for the comments, like, thanks for the streams, says Robin. No, thanks very much for watching, my friend. And then David said, good night to yourself, mate, and see you next time, Edward. Yeah. So as one last time before I do go off, if you're watching the live stream to this point, well done. But also, also at the same time, I think it's great to see that people are more and more subbing. So if you're watching and you're not subbed and you think I've earned it, please hit the sub button. Be much appreciated. I don't like asking for it, but since I start doing it, it's working. Very quickly, yes, just Ollie says, when you say you have another 100 million to spend, we might as well sign a world-class player and see you later, Michael. Have a great rest of your night. Good day at work tomorrow. See you later. Take care, buddy. See you later, SJ. You didn't quite get us on till 10 o'clock, but, it's good to see that you still wanted us to. Moms, thanks for a top stream. No, thanks very much. Thanks to Paul. Hopefully you're okay, my friend. Right, guys, I'm going to love you and leave you all. As you know, I always say it. Stay safe. And as I say at the end of every stream and at the end of every video, how are the lads?